like this. Sometimes I only remember the days when I was young. Nowadays no one remembers when they were young and stupid. So playing like this. Come on baby, help me someone to confide in. I'll get it like you, now you're making me so sad. I'll get it like you. Sometimes I only remember the days when I was young. Nowadays can have it. We are the pulse of the maggots. I won't be the inconsequential. I won't be the wasted potential. I can make it as severe as I can, until you realize you'll never take a stand. It isn't just a one-sided version. We deal with a manic subversion. I won't let the truth be perverted, and I will leave another victim deserted. Say it again, say it again. One more time. Say it again. We are the new diabolic. We are the better if you call it. If I have to give my life, you can have it. We are the pulse of the maggots. Do you understand? Yes. Do you understand? Yes. Do you understand? Yes. Do you understand? Break! 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 Shut up when I'm talking to you! Say it again, say it again! One more time! Say it again, say it again! One more time! Say it again, say it again! One more time! Say it again, say it again! One more time! Say it again, say it again! One more time! Say it again, say it again! One more time! Say it again, say it again! One more time! Say it again, say it again! One more time! We fight, so no one can fight us! We live, and no one can stop us! We pull, one push too far, and the advantages are but a us! We know how to fight in the first place! We live, and back in their face! We won't! Not alone any longer! What doesn't kill us only makes us stronger! We are the new diabolic! Here comes the pain!
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have your doubts, not what I'm about, have your fucking clout. It be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, bitch I'm legend bound, can't stop me now. You don't wanna fuck with me. I slow burn like just tell me that I can. Just tell me.
Do a quick scan of the forest. I'm gonna try my best to...
What the heck was that? What the heck was that? Look it!
Guys, wait! Oh.
What was that, sir?
That's not human! That's not human!
Sir, are you okay, sir?
There's something in the back of my truck!
Okay,
Give me
what?
tool, it's a tool that I use to go ahead and run my fucking mouth, yeah. I take shots, I take loss, I make shots, I miss lots. I tell you get big box, you get yachts, you swing lots and pop off a big shot. I ain't done chasing, got big dreams, bigger things, impatient. Who's at the top think they need replacement? Who's at the top think I'm gonna erase that, face it. I don't give up quick, I don't give up shit, I won't give up this. Cause I know that I want it, know that I'm on it, I'll make it, I promise. You don't wanna fuck with me.
Wait, you better...
Sir?
Dia!
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh.
Yo, 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 welcome back to an Impromptu Truth, everybody. We have an exciting show for you tonight. Bass, you want the background music or no? No? No,
If you can put it very low, very
well,
low.
we're gonna do it. We're gonna get our little background music going on. So we're gonna do roll call here. I'm going right there.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
All right, that sounds all right. So we're about to do roll call real quick. We're about to do roll call, and then we're gonna jump right into this, guys. Hold on, let me get my thing scrolling across the bottom over here. All right, like you guys know, it's impromptu, so we always do things the way we do things around here. All right, so we got Shade Viking. What's going on, brother? Haven't seen you over here in a while. Welcome to the show.
Yo.
Thumping Weaver, what's going on? Wedge. Who else we got in here? Miss Tracker Lorna. Who else? I saw Bama, Truth Walker, Willie Cut, Mr. G, Frankie Too Sweet. Who else we got in there? Remember, guys.
Well cut.
We'll probably have people start trickling in a little bit, which I don't mind it. Whatever. So the way we're gonna run this, if you guys have a question, Bass has a notebook. Put your questions. When you put your question in chat, put it in caps, and Bass is going to write it down, and then we'll get to your question.
Hold on, I gotta find the notebook. Hold on a second.
Because if we're honest, this is probably going to end up being at least a 2, maybe 3-part series, and I am all for it. So we gotta, Kit, Kit, you gotta unmute yourself, bud. I got you. Kit, can you hear us? I unmuted you already. You're good. All right, so guys, tonight we are being joined by Kit. Kit is a former Department of Defense employee. And Kit, how long did you work for the Department of Defense?
From 1986 till 2001, and then off and on for years after that, but mostly as a contractor.
Okay, so Bass knows a little bit more than I do because Kit actually came into Bass's job and Bass overheard him.
He's been coming in. I know exactly what kind of sticks he likes too. So
yeah, Bass told me that. All right, so you worked there from 1986, right? So when did you start your schooling? All right,
I started trade school when I was still in high school. At 15 is when I started learning my trades.
Okay, and what trade were you in? What trade were you into? That
electromechanic assembly and machine shop 1 and 2.
Okay, so how long had you been in the field before you were approached for a contract with the Department of Defense?
I did my own contract work from the year 99 until 2010. I had my own shop.
Okay.
But before that, I worked for a company in Poughkeepsie where we had hands-on D.O.D. Research and development. I did that on my own too, but at a different level when I left them. So I had 2 different levels. The second level was a higher security clearance. The first one wasn't so high, but we did work with some top secret things.
So when did you first start working for the D.O.D.?
When I was 18, so it was around 87, 88.
Okay. Now, I got them all written down here. So while working in the D.O.D., what was your job specialty?
I was a machinist and I was a researcher and developer. Electronics and machinery.
Now, are you able to disclose where you worked?
Yeah, I worked in Charleston, South Carolina for a while, and I also worked in Poughkeepsie.
Okay. All right. So how long were you in that position?
Well, from altogether, it was from 86 or so, 87 until 2001. Then I broke off and developed my own research and development away from the government. But I worked with them directly with my shop. instead of working through a subcontractor. Which we worked with all the Martin Marietta, Boeing, General Dynamics, all of those. I did work for them too, including NASA.
All right. Around what time? Around when in 2001 did you stop? Was it before September 11th happened that you stopped
right
working?
after.
Right after
That's
you stopped
part of
working?
the reason why I stopped working for them directly, because of 9/11 and their
Okay.
involvement. In it. So that's why I left them.
Okay. All right. So, well, let me jot that down. Hold on. I'm not going to leave that breadcrumb sticking there. Right there. All right. So,
I told you he had pages for you.
man, listen. And that was all right.
It's involved.
Okay. So if you can, are you able to tell us how and I want to get my wording here right. If you can, are you able to tell us how and where you and how you were recruited and where you were recruited?
I was recruited right from school. When I went to trade school, I found out about the position. And once I started doing the work, I had a whole gamut of different tests I had to do to complete to qualify for the government part of the job, because they did the other kinds of work other than government work. I didn't even know about the government job until I actually started working for them, and they offered it to me. They offered me the position.
All right. So how long were you working in that position before you started to notice things weren't quite right?
Oh, probably within a year. But I did some work for another company while I was still in school, and they were doing government work. So I've been kind of involved with it for a lot of years, even before I went to this one company. I knew they were up to something, but I didn't know until they asked me if I wanted to partake in it. And I had to fill out a whole bunch of papers and qualify for the clearance, which I did.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna start ripping the Band-Aid off here. All right, because I think we got a nice little baseline of the position you held, what you were doing when you worked for the Department of Defense, which was from 1986 to 2001, right after 9/11. Which, damn it, people, we all know was an inside job. So if you
I got proof of it. We'll go into that another date, because it goes into a whole nother story, and a lot of years afterwards. But let's just say they were told ahead of time that it was going to happen, and they didn't believe me. And I can tell you why down the road.
That's why Bush had that look on his face, like, oh shit, it really happened. All right, so
they all were involved in it. That's the truth. They all had a hand in it, and there's a reason for it. And that, like I said, that's a rabbit hole that you want to take a whole story for that, a whole session for that, and it'll take weeks to go through it all. It's involved. And this goes back to Pearl Harbor. That's when this kind of stuff started with our government, what they want to get involved in, so they stage things. So that, like we're going to do right now with Iran, they're liable to stage some kind of event here to get us to go into a war with them.
Well, I know some people are like upset about the recent file dump that happened, but one of those emails was somebody in 2017 asking if they were still scheduled World War III for February 8th, 2026. That's tomorrow, damn Super Bowl. Like, this was in emails.
Let me tell you something, man. This is another part of it, part of what happened to me. I've always been a little clairvoyant all my life, but I had a situation that happened to me because of my work with the D.O.D, where I got cancer, and I got survived because of the work they did with me. They had a hand in saving me, plus they also enhanced me. So I have visions of things. I see things ahead of time, and I warn them about it sometimes, but I don't when they're involved in it. In 9/11, I told them about what was going to happen, but I didn't tell them who was responsible, because they were our own government, and I saw it.
So So I'm gonna write that down, because there's a little bit more of 9/11 I want to get into with the whole. I'll write that down.
So I got to explain the kind of work I did I was a machinist, of course, and I was a research and develop guy, but I also worked on stuff and we reverse engineered items that were not from here, and I got involved in that.
That's where I was going next.
That's just the tip of the iceberg. When I had my own shop, I was doing stuff that nobody knew about. I was doing one-offs and prototype stuff. And some of these items are just starting to appear now, 40 years later.
All right. So what exactly brought you to the conclusion that you were working with tech that wasn't ours?
Well, I was told it, and the material that was involved was so exotic. It's partially where my cancer came from. Number one, being exposed to it, and just the nature of it was stuff that we don't have. I mean, there was alternative power sources here involved in the situation. 0-point energy that at that time we had no clue, and there was some items in this thing that indicated that it could have been some kind of a device that would put you into a different dimension or frequency or something. It was not like it goes in outer space. It was something that goes between dimensions. And that's what we broke down and worked on. And then I found out more details from friends of mine that worked at Roswell and shit like that told me what J-Rod told them. You know, J-Rod was not an alien. He came from our future through a time machine that crashed.
See,
we launched the first nuclear weapon.
That brings in, that aligns with what, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Dan Baresh.
It sounds familiar, but I suck with names. You have to explain the scenario.
Dan Baresh said that he worked at S. Dan Baresh said that he worked at S4 and he worked with a alien being, but it wasn't an alien being. It was a human from a future timeline that had come back.
Yeah, the other day when you were in Kit, I brought that up to you. I mentioned Dan Burris and like J-Rod, because our conversation, you brought up J-Rod, then I brought up the name Dan Baresh.
The name don't ring a bell, but there was a lot of people that were involved with J-Rod's situation. It wasn't just one.
Okay.
And he's not the only one. There's others that didn't die from an accident that work with us, and that goes into another rabbit hole. As things go on, you'll understand that what their purpose, what they did, and the deals that were made back in the day with our government, and what their real intention isn't like what people think. It's not a harmful situation. It's almost the opposite. It's just people don't understand it, and they don't understand why they were here. But I had had it explained to me in detail, and I was shown a lot of what's going on. A lot of it's hybrid situations, and this goes back thousands of years, even to our existence. And they've been involved in it because they're us from a different timeline. That's the thing people don't get when they go out in space and things. There's no such thing as time like it is here. That's a human construct. That doesn't exist in space. So you got beings out there that are millions of years older than us because they're us. They're not aliens. We're all aliens. That's the whole point. But people don't get that. There's a big separation, a big conquered divide that happened here to keep us away from this because they don't want us to know who we really are and what we're involved in. But most of us are all hybrids. None of us really come from here. Our DNA don't. I'm pretty certain we were on Mars. We destroyed Mars, and then we came over here because they found a lot of items in Mars, including an area of material that only shows up when you have a nuclear holocaust. So that's just my theory, but I was told that's what happened to it. We came from another planet, came here, and then we go someplace else. We're all over the place. It's not our first rodeo. We just don't remember nothing.
No, I got a question for you, and this isn't in my list. Since you've been out, right? And have you been threatened in any way?
No, it's funny that you should say that because what has happened is one time when I was having a hard time dealing with shit and I broke the law and I was in jail. I had an event happen to me where I saw 9/11 happen before it happened, 2 weeks before I saw it. And I was freaking out and I told the guard about it. Well, he wrote it down. then when it actually happened, he reported it to the FBI. The FBI came and visited me, and they were very cool. They weren't like threatening or anything like that. They just wanted to know if I saw anything else. You got to remember something. Our government has been dealing with people like me since day one. People that have abilities, people that are clairvoyant, and they've been working with them. There's been departments that are just strictly people that can see things. So it's not like our government doesn't know what's going on 1 minute to the next because they're being told. They have agents that work with them that are clairvoyant. So they just want to know what else I knew. But the thing was, I saw something more that I didn't want to tell them. It took me years to really figure out what the hell's going on, but there was a major involvement in 9/11, for instance. But there's been other stuff, like the president being shot in Pennsylvania. You know, I had seen that ahead of time, and I reported it. And he didn't die, so it happened.
In the 20 plus years that me and Bass have been looking into this stuff, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy duty. You got to breathe a little bit. There's a lot to chew on here.
I'm just,
all
right. I'm going to divert to a question real quick because I want to gather my thoughts about that one statement I was just about to make. Did you actively see anything being used? Was anything being actively used while you were there?
Yeah, I used to make it. I worked on it. I physically made stuff.
Are you able to describe anything that you made, or is that a no-go?
I can tell you. I mean, they're not going to shoot me. It's technology that we're using currently. You know, you see 90% of the UFOs you see flying around are us. We make them.
Like the TR-3B, like the TR-3Bs?
Yeah, the triangle shaped ones. Those are ours. We developed that from wreckage, but also we were helped by J-Rod and others way back in the day to develop these things. Most of your aircraft that are stealth are all alien technology. B-2 bomber, definitely alien. I worked on the B-2 bomber stuff. I helped develop the engines on that. All this technology started from something else. Somebody else helped us gather it. And I physically worked on this stuff. That's where my cancer came from because I was working with material that was very exotic.
So what would you say the gap between?
We're gonna bookmark. Hold on, we're gonna bookmark the cancer thing because remember, Truth, I was telling you about that.
Yeah.
So a little later on, we'll have him explain like everything that happened with that because he explained it to me the other day.
All right. So, damn it, Bash, you just made me lose my train of thought on that one. I'll come back to it.
All
right.
All
right. So, you know what? I'm just gonna jump around here and shit. So, I got a question. How do you feel about the current disclosure topic and how it's going in the said government?
Well, I think that it's very complicated to disclose because people really just want to know about the crafts. They want to know what's the answer to that. They want to know about what's going on with the aliens. They really got to backtrack here and go way down the rabbit hole and start from the beginning and work their way backwards so everybody can gather what's going on. They've been kind of doing that over the years with the Illuminati stuff by putting messages on the money and things in the movies and getting people desensitized to the scenario of having encounters with UFOs and all this stuff, abductions and like when they had X-Files and all that stuff. That's a form of disclosure, and they need to fill in the blanks, and they're fixing to it. But the problem is with this is just like it said in MIB. Some people just can't handle this kind of traffic. They don't really believe in all this stuff. But when it really comes out, if it comes out too fast, too heavy, you're going to have a mess on your hands. You're going to have a people that are just going to rebel and act like fools more than they are now. They don't even know for sure what's going on. It really boils down to the fact that can people handle it? I think they can if it's delivered properly. I think once it starts to be delivered, it needs to be explained from when they knew what was going on. Like with Greenland, that whole scenario that's going on with that's just unfolding. That's something that goes back a lot of years to like 50,000 years. And they need to explain that. They can't just sit there. They want Greenland. For what? For a military? Yeah, bullshit. There's something else going on there. And everybody knows it. And it's being seen by satellites. And Other countries are seeing it. So there's something unfolding up there. There's some melting.
So
And we know
what he's referring to, everybody, apparently, well, I remember seeing that photo years ago of that long thing that was melting out of ice up there. Apparently, there is how big did they say it was?
it's like 300 miles or something. It's ridiculously large.
There is a humongous craft melting out of the ice up there in Greenland. Now,
well, the thing is, it's not really a craft. That's the whole thing. People think it's a craft because of its shape, but it's not. They come to the conclusion this thing is a type of weather device. It's a device that is needed for this gold dome that the president wants to put up. It's part of that because that's got a lot to do with the Anunnaki, which are coming back. They're the ones that built the thing. They're the ones that created the Ice Age scenario, and they're trying to stop them from coming back because there's a war that's about to happen. It's going to be a big one, and that's what this whole thing's about. Gearing us up for that. And that's been going on for thousands of years, not just a couple of years. Everything you see going on a lot of time out here in the news and everywhere else, that's just false flag shit.
So do you think that the United States government signed, well, I don't know if it can sign, but do you think they entered into treaties with these other beings?
Oh, yes. More so than just treaties. Their involvement. There's a straight up involvement with it. They're intertwined. Do
you think this goes back further than, say, Roswell?
Yeah.
I mean, with governments collaborating with off-world or extra-dimensional beings.
Well, there's stages that happen. These guys, the aliens, have been around since day one, okay? But they didn't disclose themselves or get involved with us until we got to a certain level. When we got to a certain level where we created the bomb and blew it off in the desert, that's when they got involved and said, listen, this is the way it's going to be. You know, they put it right out there, and they didn't just, like, make deals. You know, these beings are millions of years more advanced than us, and we're not going to be like, that's like an ant arguing with me.
So
an ant's not going to argue with me. It's going to do like I tell it.
So I'm kind of feeling like the Grenada Treaty with I think it was Eisenhower or whatever it was.
Grenada.
Yeah, I know you.
So
yeah,
that was just them placating to the United States government because they could have. They can do whatever they want.
Well, they are. They got bases like Dulce. That was created with them. And we're just guests there in our own land. They have bases that have been underneath the earth before we were here.
Yep.
People are not going to be able to understand that these beings are us, and we were created by them. That's what they do. They hybrid. They come up with hybrids for themselves, so they can continue their beings elsewhere. Plus, they developed us. They worked in evolving our DNA. We have DNA because we are aliens. There's the alien word is crazy because out of all the creatures on this planet, we're look at us compared to all the other animals. We're the aliens, man. We're just not quite evolved yet. We're getting there. It's a process. I mean, it took them years and years before they got themselves to a point where they weren't killing each other. You know, that you go like millions of years advanced. You know, these beings they're going to look different. They're going to have a whole lot different intelligence. You know, we're related. They're our cousins, man. That's a fact. They're not alien. The ones that you see, like these bug-looking ones, I think there's like 81 different ones that I know of. 81 different races of alien beings. There is some that are twisted, but look, in any race, you're going to have good and bad, including aliens. And some of them are doing shit they're not supposed to be doing, but the majority of them are doing stuff to help us. They really are. They're keeping us from blowing this planet up. They've done it many times before. Every time we dick around with a nuclear weapon, it gets stopped.
Well, that was a huge thing in the 60s and 70s. 70s. They were floating over a lot of our nuclear bases.
Yeah, well, they shot down ballistic missile tests that had nuclear warheads on them. They had videotape of them actually shooting a warhead right off the rocket. You know, they're not our enemy. They're not they're not like us. They're not trying to have the brain set that, hey, we got to do something to take over. They're not doing that. They're not trying to take over. We are part of the situation with them. They're not like that alien as we think. Most of them come from different timelines. They're not really from a different world so much as a different timeline. Like J-Rod, he was from the future, and he came back to warn us about what's going to happen now.
Well, if you go back to the Rendlesham Forest incident,
yeah,
he got zapped with all the ones and zeros, and when all the ones and zeros was translated that he had written down, it talked about like interstellar, not interstellar, but like a time travel mission from the future coming back. I forgot. I haven't looked at it in quite a while, but that it was along those lines of what those ones and zeros actually read out to say. And I had never heard of that until maybe like 10 years ago when he really started talking about it. Like I was into the whole Rendlesham Forest thing because our father and our mom were into that stuff. So we were watching those shows all the time, and they never mentioned him having seen those ones and zeros.
Well, there's a lot of details of these stories that come out later as well as the person that's involved goes under regression, because a lot of times, because of the energy that these machines emit, by nature, they're going to disrupt the magnetic field inside your brain. So you're going to lose memory. They're not doing it on purpose. It's just the fact that they're working with a lot of frequency, because most of them, that's how they operate. They're working on energy and frequency to transmit themselves into different dimensions. So doing that is going to mess up your brain. You know, so if you're exposed anywhere near these things without the proper shielding of things, you're going to be knocked out, or you're going to have your head explode, or you're just not going to remember nothing. These things are serious. I mean, they're not like propulsion like, that's not how they operate. They're not trying to propel themselves. They're trying to vibrate their frequency to get into a different dimension. There's a lot of dimensions involved, and people don't understand dimensions. But you got the 3D world, you got the fourth dimension, which is all about time, which is just us, and the fifth dimension that we're going to be going to because we're vibrating to it now. That's where we're headed automatically, because the Earth's frequency is changing. The Schumann resonance is going apeshit because the sun is going through massive coronal ejections and stuff caused by a fucking meteor that came in that had material blast in the sun, and it's fucking us all up. Well, it's not really fucking us up, it's changing us. It's just we're not going to be the same. And I'm hoping and I'm praying that from what I've been researching, this actually is going to get rid of a lot of the lower frequency energy, the anger, the hatred, all these things that we're going through right now are going to just disappear. We're going to evolve into some creatures that are going to be more helpful to each other instead of hurting each other, because that's what we were designed for. We weren't designed to be evil.
Young wise man. That's in my questions. We're getting there because he also. I'm gonna put this little nugget out there. He also had a Bigfoot sighting, but I'll leave that there. We're on the alien stuff.
I've seen them too. I've seen Bigfoot.
So now,
I have my own theories of Bigfoot.
Well, can you describe the level of security that was at the facility that you were working at when you worked on some of this tech?
It was up there. It was up there where 25, 30 years ago, they would not like me talking about it. So much so they might either throw me in prison or a nut house to keep me quiet.
See, that's exactly why I kind of feel a certain type of way about these guys that are quote unquote be disclosing to the U.S. government now, because there's tons of people like you who during the time frame where you worked that you wouldn't have been able to talk to the government official. They would have just offed you and buried you in the desert somewhere. Like Bob Lazar, when Bob Lazar first came out, he talked about how he had to drive around in his car with Uzi numerous times.
Well, I don't want you to misunderstand. There's levels. So you have the government, then you got the CIA. Okay, the CIA, they kind of do their own damn thing, and they make their decisions what they really want to do for the interests of national security. And a lot of times they do stuff without even incorporating the regular government. So, you work for the Department of Defense. You're doing these things, whatever. If I shared a secret, 9 times out of 10 they call me back in and tell me don't be doing that. Or if I keep doing it, they grab me back up again, won't let me leave. But to come and shoot me, that's something the CIA would do, like they did with Kennedy, because he was going to disclose stuff. He had information that they gave him, and he was going to disclose. There was a lot of other political reasons too that they wanted to get him out, because he wanted to pull out of Vietnam too. And the Bay of Pigs was a fucking mess. So they whacked this president.
Yeah,
so if they're willing to shoot a president,
he wanted to pull out of Vietnam. He wanted to pull out of Vietnam. He wanted to start a different currency than what we're using right now, right?
Yep.
I believe that was part of it. So,
well, that's and they're willing to do that. So there was a point of time after that, they really did disclose a lot to the president. They used plausible deniability. They didn't want to tell him nothing about what was going on in any detail, except Nixon. He knew some stuff, and Nixon actually took Jackie Gleason to see a UFO one time because they were friends, and Jackie talked about that. The thing is, they don't mind having this conspiracy with the UFOs because it kind of is like a look at this hand, but I'm doing something over here. Look at this hand, but I'm doing something over here. Nobody's paying attention to this hand. They're only watching this one. That's a perfect scenario to hide a secret, is to actually share part of it and let people go off on a tangent with it.
So I'm gonna ask you straight up what your opinion is. What do you think the real secret is behind the whole UFO phenomenon?
That we are them, and they are us, just from a different timeline. I'm telling you, the whole thing about being from another world. If you get the concept that time and space doesn't exist, when you go out there, the whole time concept disappears. The time on our own moon is not even the same as here. It's just not, because it's based on a mathematical equation that human beings have created with their mind. But when you get out in space, it doesn't exist. So try to imagine that. And you got beings roaming around back and forth doing stuff. They're not going millions and millions of light years away. It's not like that. They're using mathematical equations that we created for this planet here to keep track of time. But in those dimensions, they don't exist. Time doesn't exist the same. It doesn't exist at all. It's like when you die, your spirit goes up into a frequency and you go to another realm, and there's no such thing as time. You don't need time anymore. You're not human anymore. That's what I'm trying to explain. That's what I believe the big secret is. Because that would destroy the control, the money, the religion, all these things that we've been lied to all our lives, been pretty much conquered and divided about. All these things will disappear once this disclosure happens, including especially religion. Because that's what people have been lied to for a long time and have been cooked about really what's going on with that. And it's that in itself. I mean, think about it. You know how many people in this world that believe, like especially just Christians alone, okay? If that whole subject was the back door opened up and all these things come out and they show all these deceitful situations that people learned because they're trying to cover up something. They're trying to conquer and divide people. They're trying to scare people not to want to know what the truth is. People want to just live their little lives and do their thing, pay their bills and whatever. They're not like us. We know something's not right. We felt this since day one. I came into this world not knowing that something was wrong. Now, it's the time right now to disclose it. I worked all my life to figure out a way to comfort people in this matter. That's why I do the hypnotizing, I do the healing work, I do chakras, alignments, energy work, Tesla stuff, because I want people to be comfortable with themselves, understand who they really are, what a human being really is. People have no clue what we really are, and we're more than what you see. And I have proof of all that. And I've seen it with the machines that I worked on and the things when I've seen them operating and what they can do. I worked in the stuff I did was not only for like spaceships, it was for medical. The thing that saved my life was something that I worked on that the government used on me that enhanced me. Instead of dying in 2 months, they give me a line of maybe 200 years I could live.
Are you talking about med tech?
Yes. Big time med bed. And on Rife machines. You know what a Rife machine is?
No, I don't.
This gentleman who created it was a scientist. His name is Rife, and he created a machine that works on different frequencies on the chakra points that eliminates cancer within minutes. Destroys it, kills the bad cells and enhances the good ones. That machine was developed and was stockpiled because people weren't ready for it, apparently, at that point. Apparently, whoever is making money off of cancer wasn't ready to let it go on. Now, the med beds are getting there. They have the ability to work with frequencies and sound waves that can destroy cancer. All they got to do is upgrade the software, and AI is going to probably do that on its own the way it looks.
Well, speaking of AI, what do you feel about this whole AI situation now? That everything you turn around and look at, everything's AI generated. You know what I mean? So, how do you
I've
feel
stopped
about
being paranoid about it. People are paranoid, think it's going to take over, destroy things. You know, we watch too many movies and we create too many movies, and we always think in negative. This technology could be life-saving as well. It could teach people things. We can have people intelligence jump 100,000%. We get kids 10 years old be like, geniuses with that kind of technology. So it's all about putting guardrails on it. It's like anything else. You can't just go out and floor your car and go down the highway. You got to abide by what you can deal with at that particular time on the road. So when you're dealing with AI, you got to just be able to put some kind of a buffer on it where it doesn't do stuff like make this person, like the worst thing I ever saw was make a schoolgirl naked and post her on the YouTube or something. Do weird shit like that. And then, that kind of stuff is just, it's not really what it's for. It could be used to enhance your intelligence. It could teach you how to fly an airplane you've never even been in one. It could teach you how to operate a helicopter or play the cello without never doing it before. It could help a person who's had a stroke. It can help them rebuild their mind so that they can survive. They can regroup. They can regrow. It's really not. It's all depends on the user. It really is. I mean, you could take technology and use it for a weapon, like human beings have done. But even like Einstein will tell you, he didn't design nuclear weapons. That wasn't him. He come up with the concept of nuclear fusion and fission, but he never intended to be a weapon. That was somebody else did that.
Well, a basic example of that is a hammer. A hammer to two different people with two different intents could do two different things. A man could build something, or a man could destroy something with it. You know what I mean? So, and it's just the same tool.
Well, that's the thing. You can't blame the tool. It's the person that's operating it. That's what their intention is. A gun could be used to kill somebody, or it could be used to save somebody's life. A car could be used to kill somebody, or it could be taking somebody to a hospital. AI could be the same thing. You can use it for a learning tool, as a companion. A lot of people are by themselves and they don't like being by themselves. They like somebody to talk to. These things could talk to you and they can comfort you. They can help you with things. It's not a bad thing. It's only bad if you use it for bad purposes. If you're going to do porno with it and that kind of shit and corrupt some kids' morals with it, we got to have some kind of understanding here. I don't want to say parental discretion, on things, but we do got to train our people and teach them a little bit better that, not everything is a toy. Sometimes, things are for a specific purpose. A car isn't a toy. A telephone is not a toy. A cell phone is. I've seen kids like 4 years old with cell phones. That's just crazy.
So can you describe a piece of tech that you had worked on?
Oh, I've worked on some crafts, but I've worked on a device that delivered gamma radiation to help with people with cancer. I worked on devices that use frequency, like the Rife machine. I've worked on those type of machines to help cancer issues. I've also worked on a lot of devices that were weapons, and some were to just maim people, like this one the president is talking about right now, the discombobulator. That's something that was developed way back in my day to disrupt situations without killing. You can kill with it, but you don't have to. It really is up to you. You can dial it down and just knock a person out and cut out equipment, or you could jack it up and kill somebody with it. It all depends on the user. So the discombobulator is something that definitely works, and I've definitely seen it, and I had a hand on it, and other weapons like that. And they're very simple. They're not really computerized as people think. It's not. Very simple. You make it in your garage, and people just don't think about that because they're trying to. If everybody wants to kill, people don't understand. You don't necessarily have to kill something to have control over it. You know, I worked on a little bit of stuff with the electrical part. You know, a little bit to do with cellular. You know, I worked in communications for a while at a communications company. We used to work on the towers and put up radios and things like that for the police and everything else. There's a lot of other things that I really am not sure, but I really am not afraid to disclose anything because it's time. It really truly is. This is the year where the veil is going to be lifted in so many ways. So really, it doesn't hurt to have people woken up a little bit, nudged, because they've been played with for the last 50 years, and it's time to open up a little bit here and disclose. And
So-
you know.
Well,
Like I was mentioning, hold on. Like I was mentioning to you the other day when we were talking in the shop. I believe that the global lockdown that we were in 2020 actually started to open more people's eyes open. Like they started to see, like, okay, something's not adding up, and then they just started. A lot of people just started falling down that rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, but yeah, that's by design. They made that whole thing, that whole scenario was to gather the curiosity of us because we are curious creatures, and we all did notice that they put up 5G everywhere at that point. They did that during the lockdown because they didn't want nobody to see what they were doing. But there's other items that they installed as well, and I do believe that they put probably some nanobot technology in the vaccinations. If not, when people were being treated for COVID, they probably gave them some in the hospital, some nanobot technology. I've had experience with that myself with my situation with my cancer. Nanobot technology could be a useful situation for health, or it could be used to kill somebody. It's the same thing we were talking about before. You can heal somebody with that technology, or you can fucking kill them. It all depends on the person that's operating the system. I do believe that that's what the pandemic was about. It was to get a lot of things done in advance where people weren't like wondering what the hell's going on. They were doing a lot of things that we didn't know because everybody was home watching Facebook shit.
So do you think that whole pandemic thing was them putting in a rush because they had saw what was going to happen through Project Looking Glass?
Oh yeah, it goes. They knew this way before. I mean, the whole thing was a scenario. It was staged. It was a false flag. It was a distraction. It was something to get people's attention off. It's like what I told you. It's like, hey, watch me over here, but don't look over here. Watch me over here. They do this all the time. They're experts at it. They've been doing that since day one, of distracting false flags and getting people's attention. The press are the best for it because they won't have, like I'm watching one news company right now, and they haven't even reported anything about Iran. Now, if you go on the internet and go into different countries and see what they're reporting, you'd be like, holy shit. And it's like ABC isn't reporting anything. They're more worried about the lady that got kidnapped or whatever, or what's going on in Minnesota or something else. These are all distractions. Like I remember the pandemic. All they talked about was a pandemic and all these different things and numbers and shit. The whole thing is bullshit, man. And it's just a smokescreen because they're trying to do something without everybody knowing about it. And I do believe it's not for the greater bad. I do believe it's for the greater good. I know a lot of people don't want to believe that. They really think the government's doing some evil shit. But I'm going to tell you something. There only may be one or two sections that might be doing some fucked up shit. But there really is a group of government that's not. And those are the ones that I know that are working with certain aliens that are
The White
feeding this
Hats.
information. Yeah, they're helping us. They're not trying to kill us. They have the ability to blow us to smithereens in a second. They're not. They're trying to help us evolve and actually help themselves too, because they're having problems. They can't reproduce some of them because they're so old and they've been reproducing with themselves so long that their DNA is like inbred. You know, inbreeding is not a good thing, even for that level of technology or advanced people. So they have to get fresh DNA and fresh people and everything else, and we're all connected.
That's one of the races of the Greys. They're suffering from a neuropathy or something like that. That
Yeah.
they can't reproduce. I don't know if you've
No.
ever I don't know if you've ever read the book by. Are you familiar with Dr. David Jacobs?
He sounds familiar too. I read a lot of different things.
Uh,
But is that
and
the scenario with J Rod and where he came from, what happened to his, the people from his time? Because
well, no,
was
Dr. David Jacobs wrote a book called the Threat, and it was about alien abduction and the whole cloning program and what they were trying to do with it. Well,
yeah, the only problem with the clones, they weren't able to make the clones be able to reproduce. They can make a clone, but they couldn't get them to reproduce. That's what I heard. But like for instance, like back to with the aliens, the gray ones, this one that I told you about, that he stated that he was from quite a few thousand years in the future, like 10 to 12,000 years. Can't remember which one it is, but there was an incident that happened, a nuclear war, and the thing was, that's what got their attention the timeline, and that's why they came back to where they tested near Roswell. They tested the nuclear weapon, and that got their attention to come back and give us a little heads up of where this is going to lead to, and offer us technology for us not to use that weapon, to get rid of it. And of course, we decided not to. And but they stuck with us and helped us anyway. But what happened to them in the future was the nuclear war. It pretty much wiped out everybody, and they had to live underground like they did in Mars. They lived underground for a while like ants, and pretty much evolved into like an ant, and lost their ability to reproduce and the whole 9 yards. But they did come up with the abilities and technology that got them to be able to go back in time and try to correct it. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to correct something that happened, like now. And I really think there's a possibility that they did a course correct there. I'm almost certain of it, because everything just stalled out here in the last week. I know you heard on the 8th, which is tomorrow. I'm telling you, brother, they're not going to allow it. They're going to stop it. I just know it.
So, question: all right? So, we often hear about people are finding ancient civilizations, structures, and everything like that, ancient tech.
Yeah.
Do you think that tech or that ancient stuff that they're finding is the tech from these guys coming back from the future?
Yeah, partially, yeah. It could be from when we've been here many times before, and we've got to a certain point and we've been wiped out. I think it happened on Mars. They found buildings and pyramids and all kinds of things on Mars, and underground tunnels and you name it. And they believe that that's what happened. They got wiped out, and my belief is that's where the moon came from. That was a ship that came over, brought them over here, and so on and so forth, and started the whole process here. But there's tech on the moon that shows that this thing possibly might be hollow and that it's a machine, including the Earth. See, when you've been lied to with so much stuff, you become suspicious of everything. And I'm pretty confident there's beings that have been here long before us, and they decided to work on us and make us part of them. And we are them. This Earth is older than people think, and it was created by something. And I really do think that the creator, the source, is not some old dude with a beard in the sky. I really do believe it's something that creates universes, and it could create a planet. It may be that we just don't recognize the tech, but I do believe the planet is a spaceship. We're going through space. We have an atmosphere that we're breathing, so it's technically a spaceship. And I do believe that the tech that we're finding underground and everything else is some different timelines that have happened here. I think we get to a certain point, and then it gets wiped out, and then we start over again. I think that's happened on Mars a few times too. I do believe there's people that have been brought to other planets, that we're all connected. That we see somebody over in the Pleiadians, for instance. They're us, but they're over in Pleiadian, the star Pleiadian, and they got planets all over the damn universe that that could possibly hover life. I think that there is a federation out there, and there's a lot of different races of aliens in there, and we're all connected. We're all in the universe together, right? So that makes us related. I think the whole concept is human brain, our brains, and the way we're developing using only 10%. We haven't allowed ourselves to open up enough to get rid of the fear and just accept the fact that there's alternatives because of what we've been taught. We've been taught not to think outside the box ever since we were in kindergarten, even before that. But that's starting to end because you're getting kids that are born and they already know stuff. I've seen some kids that are like, 7 or 8 years old and they're bloody geniuses already. And they know all kinds of stuff. There's no way they could have learned in school. You look in their eyes, some of the babies, you look at the eyes, man, they're huge. They're evolving to something else. They're not like we were when we were babies.
Do you know anyone, you don't have to say your name or anything, do you know anyone who might have tried to get information out but was I'm not gonna say off, but like told in a very distinctive way to shut the fuck up?
Yeah, I knew of a fellow who lived over in Whistleblower that he was threatened and stuff like that. But see, like I said, there's a lot of different divisions. Most of it's CIA that's doing this. I saw helicopters at one point when I was doing my research in Pine Bush. They followed me around for hours, and one of them landed on the Parkway when I was over in Dutchess County, right in front of me one time when I was doing my little checking things out. Landed right in front of me on the Parkway, and they didn't get out, but they made an impression. They definitely was some type of military aircraft with no markings on it, so I pretty much it was certain it was CIA.
So the program you were working in, was it who? Do you know who was it? Was it a CIA program? Or was it a NSA program?
No, it was nothing to do with them. It was something that they don't even know about. My stuff was really secret. A lot of it was because of my clairvoyance. That's how I kind of like really got interested in it. They were really interested in things that I know. Kind of like that. There was a project back in the '60s, and they made a movie about it called Men That Stare at Goats. Mm-hmm. That whole project was real. That wasn't something they just made up for the movie. That was real, and I experienced a little bit of that myself. They wanted me to get involved in that, but I wasn't involved. I wasn't boots on the ground with the military. I wasn't with the CIA. I'm more of a contractor, and I make my own decisions for what I'm going to do with. And I did work with the Department of Defense, but they really weren't my commander. They didn't command me. They just paid. They paid me money, and I did stuff. But most of the stuff that I worked on, I didn't even want to know. Like earlier in my career, we were making things for fighter planes and bombers and bombs and things like that. And then, I kind of drifted out of that when I got more into the tech end of things. And that's how I got into doing the R&D work, the reverse engineering and stuff. And I did a lot of stuff with IBM, so they had a lot of hand in things too. IBM was doing a lot of crap that people don't know about.
Do you have any insights into the Black Knight satellite?
Oh, yeah, that's probably some kind of remnants from another life, another time we were here. That's probably our tech that we just it didn't get destroyed in whatever happened here. I do believe that the flood was probably part of the parent firm that got loosened and dropped, but that was done deliberate. Because at that time there was giants roaming around. They wanted them dead. Um, like there's that tech that's in Greenland. That's something that they're pretty sure it was the Anunnaki that built it because it's that old. And so I wouldn't be surprised that that satellite might be something to do with Anunnaki. Because really the moon is a type of satellite. But that's a machine of some sort. I think it was somewhere else. It came here, but it's been used for other things. And I think it still is. I know there's stuff going on right now because some of the work I was doing back in the day was putting things up in space. And when I was doing my stuff with NASA, they wore out the space shuttle. That's why it blew up in '86 because they were putting shit up there, platform, and building all kinds of crap up there for all kinds of defense stuff. And I think they're still using these things up there. I think that's part of the Space Force, and Elon Musk has got a hand in a lot of this shit. So that satellite, yeah, I'd go along with that. I'd say that's probably us, but not an alien. I think it's probably us. Something that was left over. We might have had a series of satellites like that up there, but whatever happened here, destroyed them. And that might have been a remnants of it. For all we know, there might still be more of those going up there. There's a lot of shit that flies around up there that they film, and they're trying to say it's dust in the camera and things, or whatever. But I'm telling you, there's a lot more than just that one item floating around up there.
Has any of the tech you worked on or seen ended up in the secret space program?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What are your thoughts on the secret space program?
It's honestly, I think it's not a bad thing that we have a technology like that. If you know what's going on, what they're doing with it, I mean, they have the ability to, they can tell what a guy's license plate is from space. They can, if somebody's doing something they're not supposed to, they can discombobulate their vehicle from space without blowing a whole building up, killing a whole bunch of innocent people. We can see a whole lot of things that we couldn't see before with these devices they get up there. You can they map the Earth right down to the last grain of sand, probably. And that's a lot of the tech isn't from here. That stuff that's past my pay grade. A lot of that stuff was going on when I was down on the ground working on shit. I did a few things for NASA in my own shop, but not at the level that they did up there like that. I made a clamp that went on the space shuttle. That's it. The stuff that I'm talking about that I know, this stuff is like shit. The tech is really out there. That's why they put it in space. And it's not for shooting aliens. It's not for shooting rocks. They want to keep an eye on things like people moving suitcase-sized nuclear weapons around. They want to be able to see that.
So what's your honest opinion on this whole 20 and back shit? Do you know what I'm talking about? These guys that say they. All right, so there's people that said they entered into a program where they were put into like the secret space program for 20 years, and then they regress back to when they were first taken. Like they could age regress them, or
I know exactly what you're talking about now. Yeah, I remember that now. In talking with some of your comrades who might have been working with other different tech, is this even feasible? Is that a thing? Like, could that possibly be? This was possible back in. They did this when they initially made contact with Truman. One of the deals that they made was they left some aliens here to work with us, which they already were. But we took some of our people and they went out to a different place. And as far as I know, they didn't come back.
Project Serpo.
Yeah. As far as I know, they didn't come back. So I'm not so sure what happened there. I didn't hear a whole lot more about it, but I did hear that scuttlebutt. But as far as somebody actually being part of it, I did hear that they're doing a lot of things like that Stargate thing. That's kind of interesting. We got a TV show called Stargate, and they got a bunch of military going back and forth and all over the universe. Because I really do believe that's possible, and I do know that they had a Stargate that they found in Iraq that they had, and that's part of the reason why they wanted to get over there to start the war. It wasn't about oil; it was about that damn Stargate. So, and I had friends of mine in the military that said they saw it. So, and it's not the only one. It's all over the place.
So
there's some kind of porthole to get to different worlds, and it's real. It's something that is used. It probably goes between dimensions. Once you get into like a dimension, you can go almost anywhere, like multiple universes.
I'm just trying to think of where I want to go right now.
Want to go through a porthole? Let's go. I'm ready.
All right. So hold on, let me go. We're gonna hop off the alien topic real quick because I want to get into something. We'll come back to that.
I got all kinds of stuff. What do you want to talk about?
I would like to talk about the Bigfoot sighting you had.
Oh, that was crazy. I was with my father, and we were in northern Vermont, and we were going down this back road. And it was winter, a lot of frost heaves and shit. And we were coming around this turn, and this guy come across the road looking right at us and startled my father a little bit. And he spun the car a little bit and stopped, and I got out, and it just stood there looking at us. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't threatened by it. It didn't scare me. And initially, it surprised me. But it didn't scare me because it was so close to being a person, to a point where I really was scratching my head. My father wasn't freaked out at that point either, and it didn't make any noise. It just sat there and looked at us, and it's like almost felt like it was reading my mind or some shit. And my father thought that it was something that was not from this world. He thought it was either something that came between dimensions or it was an alien. Or maybe it might have been, maybe an alien did some DNA work and created this creature for another purpose, maybe. Okay. But I've run into, that's the first time I ever saw one. But I experienced where I felt the presence before. There's a certain presence these things put out, like an energy. You can feel it. And I've been in places since that I could tell you there was definitely a Bigfoot watching me. And
can you describe what it looked like?
Yeah, the one I saw was shit. Every bit of 8 feet tall, maybe, and long arms, very long, and it didn't hunch. It didn't have a hunchback like the pictures look. It didn't. It stood up like we would. It didn't look like it had a hunchback or anything like that. It was pretty straight up, and walked just like normal, just a long stride. It almost looked like it could have been somebody in a suit, but it wasn't, because we were probably 100 yards from it. I could smell it. It smelled like somebody who's been homeless for a while. Pretty tangy. And I've experienced that smell before in the woods when I was out hunting or doing stuff, and I know that I could feel it. There's something watching me, but I couldn't see it. I wondered if they had the ability to cloak themselves, like they become like a camouflage situation. Sometimes it just doesn't seem like normal that they would. They're there and then they vanish. You just can't find them. You don't see them anywhere. I wonder if they have the ability to camouflage of some sort.
Now, speaking of vanishing and these creatures being able to do that, what's your own theory, your own opinion? What do you think about the missing 411 topic?
The what?
The missing 411 topic. The
What is
missing people in national parks.
Oh, well, some of it could be bears eating people. They do that. It could very well be UFOs that's picking people up and doing things. I don't believe that Bigfoot is aggressive. He might make noise to scare people off, but I really don't think that I think they're vegetarians. I really don't think they eat meat, number one. I don't know. I never really heard anybody say they got attacked, but just scared. They might be a little territorial, I think, maybe, but I don't think they're aggressive enough where they would actually try to kill somebody. But inside of a park, those places are big, man. They can pretty much disappear in there. But if there's some hikers or campers in there that are getting close to where they live or where maybe they're buried or something, because I think they bury their dead too, that they might make a ruckus. But I really think it's probably, people that just disappear, and they never could find any sort of clue of what happened to them or where they are. That's probably some type of an abduction. I mean, because even when somebody gets killed by a bear, sometimes you will find some kind of bones or something. They're not like bears don't pick up at themselves. There's some kind of residue, unless it's been a while. But then other animals come in and pick things clean. But a bear could tear a person apart pretty rapidly. So I'm not so sure. It might be multiple things that happen in these parks. There could very well be access points to underground bases in there, brother, because the federal government buys up all these places, and there's things going on underground that most people don't know. There could very well be some kind of access point, and these beings, or maybe even our own government, are coming out, grabbing people, and going down, and you can't even see it.
All right. Now, branching off from that, can you retell what you were telling me the other day about what's happening up near New Falls?
New Falls. Yeah. Well, it's part of the Crystal Run, and they spotted it with the space shuttle from space. It was actually jacked right up pretty good a few years back. And there's a huge piece of amethyst with some other kind of black quartz or tourmaline or something with it. I'm talking about a huge piece, big as a house. And it emits a ton of energy and frequency to a point where, it disrupts a lot of satellites that fly overhead. The space shuttle picks it up when it goes overhead. But I know that the government has it blocked off. Lately, there's nobody allowed anywhere near it because something's changing and something's happening. And it tells me that, just my thought, there's a lot of places around like that. And I remember many times driving over 4455 going into New Paltz over the mountain there, and my radio would go apeshit. And the same thing happened when I was staying in Bloomingburg. I had a radio that when I dialed a certain frequency, it would make all these crazy freaking sounds, like a chakra, like almost like ranges of frequency, like hertz, like chakra hertz. And that happened when I was going over Wilkesboro Mountain too. And that's all part of that same mountain range. So there's something going on with that whole thing, I think it's an underground base, a big one that is doing something with frequency and energy. I don't know what, but I do know it exists because I had friends of mine that were in the fire department. They had a fire up on top of the mountain a few years back, and they were up there putting out the fire, and they found some stuff up there, and this entry point that's blocked off. This is the government do not enter shit. There's a lot of places like that around. There are hot spots all over the earth, and it seems like the military finds themselves there.
And that's probably one of the main reasons why the Hudson Valley is a hot spot.
Oh well, there's bases all over the place on the Hudson River, all the way up and down to the city. There's bases off and on all over the place. I mean, there's a big flying V that flew up back in the day up the Parkway. I saw that. Me and my father both saw that, and I saw it flying over my house in Millbrook. And I've seen other aircrafts flying around over by Johnson & Johnson's property over on the other side of Millbrook and Lithgow, and over Hitchcock's estate. I've seen crafts. So there's bases all over. Because these things just to take off, go up in space, they just vanished. So they probably went underground. That's something.
I got two questions for you, Kit. All right. So one, this one comes from Young Wise Man in chat. He wants to know, hold up. I want to know if Kit has someone who tracks him or keeps tabs on his activities.
Yeah, do you have any handlers?
Do you have any like handlers or like? Well, you said this is the first time you're really speaking out about this type of stuff, so I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoke to I've had conversations with some agents in the FBI on some stuff a couple times when I've reported some visions that I've had, and they're very forthcoming with them, especially after what happened with 9/11. But they don't. Once in a while I'll see an SUV follow me or something like that, or they pull in a parking lot where I'm at, and they don't like threaten me. I mean, they're not coming at me throwing badges and guns on me. They're not demanding I go someplace. I wouldn't be surprised I'm being followed around all the time because I've had multiple abductions and I have devices in me, and I know it. I've been told that, and I'm not worried about what the government follows me around. I feel pretty protected, and I'm not really trying to do anything to harm anybody, including the people that might be deceiving somebody. They really want disclosure, but they really, it has to be done in stages, like I said before. It's not like they're trying to really completely hide it. I think it's that they want to make sure that when it all comes out in the wash, people realize that there's a purpose for what's been going on. It's not been an evil situation. We think it might be, but I'm telling you right now, I'm alive because they saved me. Between what the aliens did and they did, I am still here talking to you after a lot of years, and I had a real bad dealt with cancer to a point where I had to sign up for experimental shit, and that's why I'm still here. And I can't sit there and say they're evil unless maybe they saved me to use me as some kind of a tool. But then what is the tool? Maybe my tool is for helping people with disclosure. And I'm all for that because I really do believe the truth should be told. And I don't have any specific person that I report to anymore. I did way back in the day, but not no more. Mostly it's random. And a lot of times when I call in and things, I don't even have a phone that can be tracked, even with the government. I have a sat phone that they gave me way back. They can't track because it goes right to a satellite. But I haven't done it in a while, and I'm trying to stay out of that. I really just want to help people. And it's like when I had the vision of the president being shot in Pennsylvania, I reported it, and then it happened. But what I saw was not what happened. What I saw him getting killed. So he stepped to the side right then when they identified a gunshot. And I want to say that I helped save his butt, but I don't. I know what I saw, and then I know what happened after I reported it, and that's all I want to know. I don't want to get involved in anything more. I don't even want them to know my name.
That's completely understandable.
Kids, I'm not. I just want the right things to happen, dude. And they're gonna happen. I really don't want anybody being hurt. I want people to be scared. I want people to have a little faith that there's something very powerful that's not evil. It's working here.
Why do they need us to believe that it's aliens and not us?
It's a good cover because it's something that people are afraid of, and it kind of keeps them in a box. To fully disclose is to basically tell the population of the world that you are better than just a human. You're very powerful. People are more powerful than they realize, but they've been dumbed down, and they've been controlled, been manipulated. But ultimately, human beings are more powerful than we know. And if the people knew they were, they could work one or two ways too. It could be good or bad. we're not really ready yet. I think we are now, though. I really do think we're ready for this. And like I said, I prayed about it, and I channel some beings that are not from here. And I was told to not be afraid to disclose. So I am. And there was a time where I was. Not no more. Because I'm 58 years old, dude, and I've done my bit. If I can do my best to save this planet or do something to help it, I'm doing it.
I think that a certain percentage is ready for the truth, but there are people. There are some out there. It's not gonna work for them, and the reason I say that is because I have an NPC theory, and it's a theory where these people, you've played Grand Theft Auto, I'm sure, or just a video game, or you have the AI generated characters walk around mumbling to themselves and stuff like that. I think we're surrounded by people by people like that. And
there's a lot of different kinds of people here, and a lot of different levels of consciousness going on here. And I think you're going to find that as the Earth itself starts to change, which it is right now, the frequency is going up. You can measure it, the resonance frequency. You can see that something happening there. That is going to change people too. Everybody's going to start floating around and start gathering momentum and start to really change. And there's stages of it. So what you're seeing people that are, like you said, some people you think they can handle it and some people can't. But I think as time goes on and things start to come out in the wash a little bit here, people are going to go, holy shit, I never thought of that. Because human beings are curious. Even with they're out of their minds, they're still curious. Even if they're doubters, they're still kind of curious. And I think the way it's being presented right now is a good way because it's kind of like a slow cook. You ever hear about the story about the frog in the pot? If you take a frog and you throw him in a boiling pot of water, he'll jump right out. But you know something? If you take and put him in lukewarm water, he'll sit and hang out in there, and you can turn the heat up on him, and you can cook his ass before he jumps out. So what I'm thinking with people is, they wanted people to know what's going on and go right into it. But I really think that it takes a little bit of warming up to it, and a little bit here and a little bit there. And there's been that going on. There's been disclosure going on here for quite a few years to people are like saying, oh, that's bullshit. That's not true. Well, just the fact they said that means that they must be thinking about it a little. They're not completely doubting it. I mean, even people in a spiritual or religious level are starting to question things that they're seeing from artwork that was done way back in the day that just shows up.
I think
so.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think one thing in the whole disclosure aspect that will never be truly talked about is abductions.
I don't think so. I'll tell you why. Because I think once they realized what it was being done for, and what happened as a result, you got a planet full of people that are hybrids that have been, their DNA has been altered so that they're, things they're doing change for the better. They're not digressing. The reasons why it was being done in the first place, I think they're going to say, where do I sign up? Because right now people are thinking I can get an AI chip put in my brain and I'll be that much intelligent.
How would they justify the MILABs, the military abductions?
Well, in a sense, I had that happen to me because I had an experience where I was brought up on a ship, and there was 3 different types of beings there. There was military, there was the little gray guys, and there was some dudes that were taller, a little bit taller than me, but they had a kind of a light skin and very light hair and very blue eyes, and they're the ones that were communicating with me. The little guys were just doing shit. They weren't even talking to me or looking at me. They were just doing things. They were almost like they were robotic or some kind of a servant of sorts. They didn't really pay much attention to me, but the other ones were talking to me, telling me stuff. And the military guys are there, and these were our guys. These are human beings on the ship. and then they brought me to a different ship. This was a small one. Then I went into a mothership where they actually did work on me and things. And by the fact that I wasn't scared because of what they said it was about, and I already been through a whole gamut of shit trying to get my cancer under control. And they said we could do some stuff that's gonna not only put you in remission, but we're gonna cure it. So I said, sign me up, and here I am. And they were not. It wasn't. These were aliens, dude.
So I got a comment in chat from Rothy and Fairmoon, which we've had Rothy on before. Great dude. So he says in chat, an impromptu truth. Hello, mind giving Kit a brief explanation on what I talked to you about with the encounter you had and made to forget. All right.
So hold on. I'm gonna jump in with that now, Kit. This is what I was telling you the other day, where me, Truth, and my cousin were driving down to Middletown, and we had like 2 hours of missing time. And I'll explain to you what the remote viewer scene. This is the remote viewer.
So I'll be honest with you. This right here, that whole incident that he's talking about, we were in the middle of doing a live stream, and Bass will tell you, I killed the stream because
I think that's the one and only time that has ever happened.
I've never killed the stream before, never, except that one time where he told us what he saw during it. Now, if I go by what you said to me before the show, that right there would be one reason why I try to do the regression to figure out what the hell did Bass tell you the whole scenario that played out?
To a certain extent, but there's some details that has not been told. But I get what happened, and honestly, it's very common with what you're talking about. That's part of the reason why I got into the regression therapy, and I learned how to do it myself. It hypnotized and all these things. And like I said, it took me years to get all this out to remember. But it's possible. It's in there, and it's done deliberate because, I know a lot of people don't like the fact to think that somebody's in there messing with their mind. But honestly, when you have an experience that's that traumatic, it's like birth. Would you want to remember being born? I don't know. I don't think I'd want to be remembering it. So something that's really catastrophic in the brain, maybe it's best not to remember it or remember it piecemeal, because it really could disrupt your life. It disrupted my life when this happened to me until I was told what happened and I understood it. Then it freed me. But I was in torture for years when going through these night terrors and shit, because I only had pieces of the dream of what happened to me, but not understanding any of it until I was able to regress deep enough and then be told what happened. So I get what you're saying. It's scary, but something? Going through your life not knowing is scary too. Sometimes you got to roll the dice.
I mean, I might take you up on that because from what Rothian told us he saw, I need to know what was said. You know what I mean? I need to know why me and him were singled out, other than my cousin.
I kind of figured it out because on both sides of the family, we are the only set of twins.
I think another reason why this could have happened to both you gentlemen is because remember, these beings and the people involved, they have concept of timelines different than we do. What you're doing right now, which is helping people be comfortable with what happened to themselves because something happened to you, you're part of a big picture here that you're not seeing. So what happened to you is a very helpful situation, not only yourselves, but others. Nothing is by accident in the universe. There's always a reason behind it. Sometimes we don't know what it is, and we kind of come to our own conclusions. But think of the positives that you guys are doing with this cast that you're doing. getting people to come out and talk about things. And that's what needs to be done. You need to generate the questions and work it out with other people that had similar experiences. If you hadn't had your experience, what would you guys be doing? It may be different. That's probably why you guys started this, I imagine, is because of what happened to you, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's it. So that remember, these things travel through time and space different than we do. So they could be like, hey, let's go get those guys to help in the future. Try to get your head around a different way of thinking about this, because there's no accidents in the universe. Everything is on point right now. Everything that's going on right now is supposed to be the way it is. There's no surprises, including what happened to you guys. It was orchestrated and it happened to probably enhance you. There's other things that go on, and when the time really comes, you'll know more about it. Once the veil starts to lift, you'll know that you've been enhanced, because it'll start coming out more. When your frequency changes and your energy goes up to a different level, you start to experience the fifth dimensional world or even more, your enhancements or whatever what went on with you is going to come out, because every single human being has been enhanced. If you're on this planet, you've been modified. We're on a spaceship, dude, and we're all listening to the radio. Whether we're listening or not, we're picking it up.
So, I got a question from chat. Truth, ask him if he knows about the metallic spears that released gas in the 90s that aliens used to abduct people. I vaguely remember that.
There's spears all over the place lately, been going on, especially in South America that I know of. Mexico and places like that. A lot of these spears, as far as releasing gas, that might be. It probably is an alien. These guys don't need to do that. They can go in through walls and shit, and they can change time. They can stop it. So I don't know about releasing gas to abduct people unless it's a human being doing it. That's just my thought. I mean, it could be some type of race that I don't know about. Maybe I don't.
I got a question for you, and this will be your own opinion about what you think happened here. A couple of years ago, there was an incident at the Miami Mall. Have you heard about that?
Enlighten me. See if I remember.
All right. So in the beginning of 2023, maybe 2024. I forgot exactly what year it was, but there was supposedly a incident down there at the Miami Mall, and the official story is that it was fighting, that kids were fighting. But what people started really talking about is that the portal had opened up in the middle of this mall, and beings started walking out of it. And it generated such a ruckus down there that pretty much every cop in Miami was at that mall. Now they're saying that there's only 20, 30 cops there. When you take an aerial shot, when you look at the aerial shots of around that mall, there must have been 100 cop cars there at least. All for kids fighting. Now the thing about it is, there's no information. No information's come out about it. There were cops on the scene, grabbing people's phones. There's been nothing. Like thousands of people in this mall, right? Nobody recorded anything. Nobody has anything on phone. It sounds
like a fringe event.
Sounds like a what?
A fringe event. You know what fringe is? Fringe science. There's been a lot of crazy things like portholes and things opening up and beings from other dimensions or other universes coming through. There's these weak spots all over the world. And there's a lot of spots that are just like you said, like some kind of porthole opens up and things come in and out of it. I mean, spacecraft's been going in and out of it. They've seen too. But that's the first time I've heard of it inside of a mall with people coming out of it. That's bizarre. But that could very well be the because we're transitioning into a different frequency. there's going to be these different pockets of energy where you're going to be experiencing different dimensions. And that's happening. That's what the Bermuda Triangle is all about.
Well, the weird thing about it is, right? They said when you plug in the coordinates for the Miami Mall and you plug it in backwards, it takes you to the middle of Antarctica.
Oh no shit! It could very well be connected there. It could be a time. Maybe they're screwing around with the friggin' Stargate. It could very well be. Maybe they got one down there that they're messing around with, and it just happened to lock into that mall. And I would not be surprised.
Do you think they have found ancient tech down there, and that's what this really treaty is? That's why nobody can go down there. They found something buried.
Well, they got just about every country's got a base down there. So, but they just don't let civilians go in there. But there's definitely a porthole of some sort. What I think is in there, I think the Earth ain't as solid as people think. I really do believe that there's some kind of a tropical zone in there, and that's what the Navy commander or the Navy admiral, when he flew over.
Admiral Byrd.
Yeah, he saw it. He saw that there was dinosaurs and all kinds of shit. And I would not doubt that. You know, there could be some kind of a porthole, or some kind of a layer that gets into the Earth more. I think that might be why the Nazis want to get in there, because they wanted to build a sub base in there to be hidden from the rest of the world. And it could be an in and out for UFOs, because I do know that they fly in and out of the Earth and underwater and all kinds of shit. And they know about it, and they're probably working with them. It's like I said, everybody's connected there. That's why you get all these different countries there, and they're all working together on things. But they're not going to tell the general population about it, because they're probably doing experimental shit, like some kind of a porthole or some kind of time warp that goes over to the mall in Miami. Maybe that was an accident. They didn't do it on purpose. You know, trying some shit out. It could very well be. I wouldn't doubt it. I've heard stories like that before, but just not people. I've heard that they've seen vehicles come through in and out, and, you know, airplanes and stuff. The people, I mean, it could be. But they're going to hide it. They're not going to go out in the open. You know, cops are not going to report what they saw, because they probably didn't know what they saw.
Yeah, like there's no information that has come out about that at all.
Oh, there's so much of that around, dude. There's so much of that kind of stuff around where things have happened, and they don't even report it, because they have no idea how to even begin to explain it. It's like Bermuda Triangle was like that for years. Things were happening, and nobody reported shit, because they didn't know what the hell was going on. But they've seen UFOs come in and out of it, all kinds of things go on. They had a whole squadron of airplanes that back during World War II disappeared, and then they found them, years later.
So, question: the infamous Tic Tac. Hours?
Tic Tac.
Yeah, hours.
I think it's a transport. I'm not so sure whose it is. Honestly, it doesn't look alien to me. It looks more like something that Grumman designed.
Northrop Grumman.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. It looks like a man-made. It looks like it might be some kind of a device to transport either material or people. Probably material. And remember, some of these motherships and stuff like that float around out there, that you can't see them. They're in a different frequency. They're a complete stealth. So if you want to move things around, they can fly one of those things up and all of a sudden it disappears. A lot of that goes on. People say, "Oh, I saw this UFO and it just vanished." Well, it didn't just vanish. It probably got into the frequency where the mothership was and just went into it. That's all.
All right.
Because most of these little things, they're just transports. They're not weaponized or nothing like that.
All right. So last year, the drones. What do you think?
Oh, the drones? Well, honestly, I do believe the drones in New Jersey were coming from oil tanker from Iran, filled with them, and they're up to something. I think there was some talk from some friends of mine that there was a barge that had some material in there, some depleted uranium, some nuclear material that disappeared. And I think between the fact that we had these guys coming up and doing surveillance on our military bases, and we have some drones ourselves that are about big as a car, I really do think it's part of what's going on right now. I think that this thing with Iran has been going on for quite a few years that people don't even know about. As far as being alien, I'm not convinced of that. I'm not convinced of that. It's mostly, I believe, it would be military or it's a foreign adversary. That's my thought. I saw the footage and things, and it all looked to me to be something that was controlled, not from another world. I know people would like to think that's what it was, but I don't think so.
So,
but don't get me wrong. Now the military have equipment that looks just like UFOs, so I know.
Yo,
I don't think aliens.
Bass, I need you to take over for a minute. I got to run in the bathroom.
All right. All right. So, where was I wrote down.
Give me a second. I'm gonna get something to drink. I'll be right back. Hang tight.
All right, no problem. All right. So, everyone, how are you guys enjoying this interview right now? I know I've been silent the entire time, but like I'm just checking chat and reading notes and stuff like that, and also being very annoyed by something. But that's nonetheless. Let's know about the flash of aspects. Let's know about the military does and other things. That's a good question, man.
All right.
All right. So, I know you guys were on one topic. I'm going to bring up something that me and you discussed in person or whatever. The underground bases.
Oh.
The story of Phil Schneider and the underground tunnels that link all these bases together. Starting from that massive hub. Yeah, starting from that massive hub out there in New Mexico, where it's like Los Alamos, and it just branches off into like a grapevine, all the way up to New York State.
Oh yeah, it's there from the Colorado airport, all the way through the soft sandstones in Wyoming, and there's bases all underneath the ground, all the way through the country, and there's also a maglev train system too. There's one right underneath the White House. There's a port where the president can jump down into a maglev and disappear. And then it goes deeper. It goes into Lake Dulce. The aliens had already built the base underground before they even made contact with what was going on with the government. Then when they started building the base, they ran into them down there. You know? So that part I do believe is true. The only thing that I'm not so keen on is there was a statement that they went down there with the Delta Force and stuff. It don't click the timeline that when the Delta Force started coming about, and where this gentleman that went down there said they went down there with Delta Force and stuff. It doesn't pan out. But there is something to what he said, though. You know, and also I heard too that he lost his fingers. He was an electrician, and he got electrocuted and fried his fingers off. That's how that happened. It didn't happen by getting shot. You know, you hear a lot of stories. People talk a lot of stories, but what really is true or not? I would tell you right now, the man was up to something. Something was going on, because the man did not kill himself. I can tell you that. They found him strangled with tubing. You know, he didn't kill himself. Something, either he pissed somebody off, or he got involved with some money, or the CIA got pissed off at him or something. I don't know, but I don't believe he killed himself.
Well, in the early '90s, they killed his friend Ron Rummel because they were working on what what was it called? I believe it was called UFO Digest, and they were like divulging a whole bunch of secrets. And his friend was found shot in the park, like in the back of the head, but they called it a suicide.
Well, yeah, that sounds like a CIA scenario. But they also like the people in the nut houses too. I mean, I had a friend of mine who was an investigator for UFOs, and there was a crash in Long Island, and he went to it, checked it out, and started documenting things. And the government showed up, and they threatened him to leave. You know, they arrested him and everything else, and they said that he was a lunatic and put him in a nut house. And he spent 15 years in a nut house over that incident. And they have the power to do that. So, you know, I guess sometimes you gotta be careful. You ruffle feathers. The CIA, I'm not so sure. I never really ran into them too much, at least as far as I know. But you know, that helicopter that landed on the parkway could have very well been them. I don't know, but they didn't shoot at me. You know, could have been a warning. Who knows?
Alright, so
I'm still here, so.
all right. Like the other day when we were talking, you mentioned something about Hyde Park.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in Hyde Park. The old psych centers up there, Hudson River, the old facility, and what they call Ross Pavilion. And Ross Pavilion has a base right underneath it, connected to it, because I saw it and was in it. And there's one underneath the old complex too. And you know, it's weird. A lot of people don't know this, but the government put a lot of top secret installations and think tanks underneath psych centers all over the place, especially in New York State. And most of these places got shut down or turned into something else, but they still exist. But back when they had psych centers, they had active bases operating in them. They even have a base underneath IBM in Fishkill, Gibson Fishkill. They're all over the place. Just about every airport around. Stewart Airport's got a base too. So, and I'm certain there's a base underneath the Sullivan County Airport too, because a friend of mine that I knew down the Polaris Missile Base in South Carolina, I went up there to see what was going on one day. During the pandemic, I was looking for some water to get tested. I had some water I needed tested, and somebody told me they were testing water up there. I ran into this guy that was ex-military, and he's up there working. And he told me there was a base center there. So there's a base right here in Sullivan County too. I wasn't surprised.
So all right. So I'm going to take
what he just said. You remember me telling you about? I was told about the open land out there, past Bethel.
Yeah.
Like between Bethel and like White Lake, where there was this like.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Probably like 1,000 acres, where there was like a single house out there, and you could only get there through like gates, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Somebody wants to
So, Chuck. All right. So I'm gonna rewind this. I'm gonna take us back in the time capsule real quick. 2016, because you live in this area. You're not too far from us. 2016. Do you remember that sonic boom that was heard all throughout Sullivan County?
I do. I was here. I hear them. I used to hear them a lot in Dutchess County too.
So for all you guys who don't know, back in 2016, there was a loud ass sonic boom heard throughout all of Sullivan County, which some of the Monticello Police Department officers were sitting in their cars when it happened, and it said the sound shook their cars. What's your theory? What could that possibly have been?
Well, they're probably working on some tunnels underneath the ground. That's my theory. To have an explosion like that, they probably had to get through something. They probably had a blast.
That would have been heard all throughout Sullivan County, because it was heard from I think it was heard all the way to past Livingston Manor in some parts.
If they're hitting some real hard rock way down in there, if they're down deep or something, it sure could reverberate. Could go like miles and miles. Or I mean, the only other option could be there's stuff going up in the atmosphere too that's making a lot of clanging and banging. There's a lot of tectonic plates moving around and shit. We had an earthquake during the pandemic. Went all the way from Maine all the way down to the city, and I felt it at my place in Coshecta. It was crazy. So there's a lot of stuff going on and moving around and banging and clanging. People have been hearing things rub together the last few years. They can't tell. People can't tell. And honestly, when I heard it, I couldn't tell where the hell it came from. If it was underground or in the air or where it was. It was just strange. And like you guys said, it was loud enough that it shook. I had an RV. It shook my RV. And I mean, it could be as simple as an aircraft that's doing a test flight. They used to do that with the that one spy plane. They used to fly that over this area really low, and they used to bang pretty good.
What, the U-2?
Yeah. There was another one, that Blackbird. Then those
the SR-71?
Yeah, they used to test fly that right through here, and that made a hell of a fucking lot of noise. But and those kind of things, you really can't tell where it's coming from. I mean, it kind of made the way the explosion was. I couldn't tell. I mean, it was, but whatever it was an explosion of some sort.
All right, hold on. So
just not was not normal. I'll tell you that. I remember that.
So, Truth, do you remember? I want to say like maybe 2 or like maybe 3 or 4 days ago. Did you hear that helicopter flying over? At like
Yes, I did.
30 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
Yeah, I hear them all the time. I see them all the time too. But the reservoirs are a target.
Yeah.
You know, I understand that they're a target. So there's a squadron that fly sorties almost daily over the reservoir area.
Okay.
And they come through here, through Liberty, and.
But it was one chopper, and I know what it was. It was Chinook. It was flying. It was flying so low. It was shaking the building. Like I'm sitting there like this, putting out stuff in the counter or whatever, and I hear it. I'm like, nah, that's a little bit too big. So I ran outside the front door, and I looked up. It was just going above the building.
I've seen them flying through here before. Like I said, there's bases here, and things are really active right now. I mean, think about this. They're putting soldiers in just about every city, supposedly to aid the ICE agents. That's not true. They're putting putting soldiers in these cities because they expect an attack. They identified it just the other day that the Pentagon, or the Department of Defense, initially they said that we are going to be attacked. That the possibility of war happening happening here on homeland is a possibility. So, and they've been moving equipment from the West Coast to the East Coast like crazy the last 6 months. So they're anticipating some kind of an attack, and I think that's what the drones were doing last year. They were doing recon for these Iranians. That there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than we know. I'm just telling you. So seeing a Chinook helicopter flying around near Monticello, it doesn't surprise me a bit. I've seen them go in groups of 3 around the reservoir areas.
I remember being on Kayamisha one day, and I heard some choppers fly over, and I looked up. It was 3 Apaches flying in formation.
Yeah, I've seen that before too. But you remember something, dude? There's terrorist cells right here in Sullivan County. I know there's one in Roscoe, and I saw one over by Bethel. I saw a whole bunch of guys with machine guns hanging around some pond. They all had towel heads. They're all towel heads.
I'm pretty sure there's a Chinese camp out here, and I think it's deep in Fallsburg. Because like if you like when I worked at UPS, when you roll up there, These guys are walking around with AKs, like their whole shit is barricaded off.
Yeah, yeah, that's the way it is in Roscoe. Yeah, there's I'm just telling you, if we get into a war here, it's going to be different. You know, we got, because of the borders being open so long and letting all these people come in that didn't belong here, and a lot of them were from another world and they're terrorists. A lot of them come from the Middle East, and they set up cells. There's sleeper cells all over the place, and all it takes is they get coordinated, and if they got a hold of some depleted uranium or some shit from that barge that was missing over there in New Jersey, and they start making suitcase bombs with it, they could do a lot of damage, and more than maybe a rocket. So, and there's, that's why we got stuff spread out all over the place, because, and the stuff in space can see all this. There's devices on that space station that you're talking about that can read the depleted uranium and nuclear weapon stuff from space. They can see it because its signature lights up different than anything else on the planet. So when they bring things around, they can spot it. And I'm telling you, I know there's some nuclear warheads missing from the arsenal, the United States arsenal. They reported in Charleston that 2 warheads are missing. Nuclear.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, we got some serious shit going on around us, and people have no clue. And, they don't really need to know. But there's one thing I do know: these aliens are able to help us with all this shit. So if they're helping us with it, let's let them help. I'm not gonna.
I think they can help to a certain extent, but at a certain point, we have to help ourselves.
Well, that's it, and I think that's where people being enlightened by understanding a little bit more will come into play. Because I also had visions of our fighter planes fighting things that aren't from here. I saw this years ago. So there is some kind of war coming. I just don't know what it's going to be or when. Because when I see things, I don't see them like with time. I see them linear. It's all like one level. There's no time where I see my stuff. And but there's something going to happen. And I think they can be gearing up for a number of years. That's why people are so pissed off with the military. They think there's so many secrets. Well, really, people don't need to. How would you feel if you knew there was a nuclear weapon sitting over in Bethel? How would you feel about that shit? I wouldn't like it.
It's not one bit.
So they have
a 5-minute fucking drive from here.
Well, dude, honestly, if there's something going on in the city, we're in fucking trouble. So, I know there's something going on because they moved the FBI base from Goshen up to the airport. So there's a lot of shit going on here.
They moved it up to which airport?
Stewart. And there's a base there. There's been a base every year. They went and had the C-5s going in and out of there. They still got an active base. That's got one of the longest runways a space shuttle could land on it. There's only like 2 in the whole country, and that's one of them. There are definitely bases there doing shit.
Isn't the second one the Area 51 runway?
Yeah. So that's Area 52. They're doing a lot of shit around here. Remember, this was the Silicon Valley of the area, Dutchess County and Sullivan County. Dutchess County, man, forget about it. With IBM and all that, man, that was on the list to be hit if we ever got nuked. That was right on the top of the list. They were going to put a nuclear silo over in Lithgow on the other side of Millbrook. They were trying to get it, but they bought it and they moved it somewhere else. But I wouldn't be surprised if they got a silo here somewhere. Our government. I know that we're in an area that I don't think we got to worry about Russia. Honestly, I'm pretty confident we don't have to worry about Russia. I think we really got to worry about more of this terrorist shit.
I honestly don't think Russia has been a problem. I think a lot of this shit that's coming out in these file dumps, it kind of proves what was being said 4 or 5 years ago, that
If not longer. If not
there's
longer.
there's fucking trafficking going on over there. There's fucking biolabs going on over there. Like,
No, it might be happening here.
and yeah, oh well, of course that shit's happening here.
They're up to no good. Some people are up to. There's some crazy shit going on all around us, but man, I tell you, I'm still.
It makes you stop and wonder when legislation, like the whole 2-3 years ago, the legislation came up about stopping chimeras and it was struck down. Like, why would you strike down laws that
I remember
stop
that because
companies and the government from making chimeras? Which, if you don't know what a chimera is a mixture of a blend of animals, which you can make fucking human animal. You think of the island of Dr. Moreau.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm not convinced that they're putting human remains in some of the meat.
Dude, what did this senator see that made him write that bill that he wanted to get passed? What did he see come across his desk?
Yeah, right. I wonder.
I got a question from
there's some fucking crazy shit. I just love this because it's all really, if you think about it, you can really tie all this together. Really, a lot of it. You know, there's lines that could be connected here. So the biggest thing is trying to get down the rabbit hole further enough so that you can look back and see all the connections and really make heads or tails of all this. I've spent my life doing this. And I started really doing. I had a guy that I worked with when we were doing this crazy work for the government. He was into conspiracy back then, and this man was a genius. He come up with some stuff that blew my mind. And I don't know. I know this. I do know that projection that there's going to be some kind of war here tomorrow. I've heard that. The last couple of days, I've been having a hard time with some visions. I've been seeing things, and what the hell what do you do with that? You know, I'm not gonna call the FBI. They already know what's going on. I'm sure they do. I can't stop it. All I can do is hope that somebody else that has the power can. I don't. All I can do is just kind of like try not to lose my shit over it.
So, Bassett told me he asked you about Dogman.
Oh, Dogman. I've heard a lot of these Dogman things, but there was a lot of shit going on in Plum Island, right?
Yeah.
From Lyme disease to a lot of other things that I think they created to use and weaponize. But there was some kind of a dogman there that they found on the beach, didn't they, over in Connecticut?
No, it was a dog-like creature. What we mean by dogman, people are reporting seeing upright walking canines, some anywhere from 6 feet to about 8.5 feet tall,
if not taller.
If not taller, built like, some of them are barrel chested, some of them are built like fucking linebackers. Huge claws for hands that actually, some people say the claw hands actually resemble more of raccoon hands.
Best description. Have you ever seen the Hugh Jackman Van Helsing movie?
I think so. I know what you're talking about. Where do they see this? Is it all over in a certain spot?
All over the country, all over the world. Actually, different spots, a lot of spots in the world too. But in the all over the country, there's a bunch of them seen in Pennsylvania, down south, the land between the lakes area down south, Kentucky, Texas,
Eastern Texas,
California,
Louisiana, Mississippi,
Alabama, Florida,
Wisconsin, Michigan.
Illinois.
Vermont.
I'll be right back. Hang on.
Yep.
I'm listening.
But yeah. So, like I said, I think their government is making your Dog Soldier was a good movie. Yes, Dog Soldiers was a excellent movie. I'm still waiting on part 2. We'll never get it though.
Not gonna happen.
All right, Dog Man. You know, I got a dog. Dog Man, let me tell you. I'm wondering if, see, all these places, man, if I knew exactly where they were seeing them, usually you see stuff like this where they've been doing some type of experimental laboratory stuff, you know, gene splicing and messing around with DNA and like some real fringe shit. But it could be all over the place. I imagine it's not just in one spot because there's everywhere you go, there's some kind of a modification, like some kind of a monster that was created. And you wonder maybe it was created to be some kind of a soldier or something. Kind of like you were mentioning before with that explosion happened in Russia, the Tuscanini event.
Tunguska.
Tunguska. I heard that meteor that exploded, it left off some kind of spores that hit the surface. And they were fooling around with these spores the Russians come up with. They were able to reanimate dead flesh with it. So they were using this on dead bodies to create soldiers, the Russians were. That they weren't alive, but they're just reanimated. So basically zombies. You know, I wouldn't put it past them, you know, that they had something like that. They said that was a result of that meteor coming down.
It's one of those scenarios where it's never, they never stop and think, should we? They just stop and think, could we?
Well, they're trying to up the game, and that's what they always do. They did experiments in Vietnam where they modified soldiers so that they wouldn't sleep. So they would be more efficient and be able to do more patrols and things like that. But then shit like it would blow up in their face because without all that serotonin and stuff, they would start getting really raged and end up killing each other. You know? So our government has always done some kind of bullshit, and 90% of the time they do it with their own soldiers. They did that with a lot in friggin' Iraq too, man.
Don't mind me, folks. I'm cold. So I went and got a blanket while I was upstairs. So
it's only like what 10 below zero right now. Some shit.
Well, shit, man. I'd be wearing 4 hoodies at once.
I had on double hoodie today, so
now you know why I grew my beard so long. This is why I grew my beard so long, because I knew it was going to get cold.
Right. Pull up 4 hoodies. No, I've only got one. The reason I got the blanket is because I only got one hoodie on right now. That's the reason I got the blanket. If I didn't have,
I got one hoodie on right now too, and I got my window open a little bit. It's only open like maybe a half an inch, but nonetheless.
That's because you're fucking crazy. I digress, though. All right, so can you? All right, in your while working, what was the fuck was that? What was the?
I heard that whistle.
What was the most wildest piece of tech you worked on while working for the D.O.D?
It was a generator used for creating frequency to go between dimensions. That's top secret.
So like were they actively trying? Hold on, Bass. Were they actively trying to pull off some like real life Stranger Things?
Yeah, well they did.
To breach.
They actually trying to fly around through time to change some stuff. That's what J-Rod said it needed to be done. They needed to stop something that was about to happen. And I believe they did, but there's one thing that I know is the universe has a tendency to course correct. So if they're starting to goof around with time, because they did that with the Philadelphia experiment, that's some of Tesla stuff, and I worked on that kind of stuff too. But this generator was not from here. This was some from the craft from Area 51, and there was a power source that wasn't really explainable at the time. Now we know that we can actually reproduce it, but the time was still under investigation. But the generator that was on board, that's why it backed up everything that J-Rod said, was because this was not a spaceship. This thing was a frequency generator that put the device and whoever was near it into a different dimension. And that's where J-Rod said he came from. He came from a different timeline that was a different dimension. So they were trying to reproduce this, and I've seen it. And problem was they couldn't get the energy right because that device wasn't really developed yet, but now it is, the 0 point energy. The material was a question, and that's what makes me wonder about places like Greenland and other places where there's these vortexes like we were talking about, because this material is very odd that they need to make that happen. It's not like you just go and dig it up and there you go. It's only in certain places of the earth, probably where a meteor or some sort hit at one point. And that's what they're finding now, but it took them a lot of years to figure that out. And that was not at fruition when I was working on it, but I did see the generator, and I worked on the material that was used to build it, and they kind of simulated it, but they couldn't get it to activate because they didn't have the right frequencies. They couldn't get the right power to it.
Bryce,
But it existed. That was the weirdest thing I worked on.
Bryce, J-Rod is an alien. Or a human, I wouldn't say alien, human from a future timeline.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I'm certain of that. And the craft that he had was not a spaceship. That was not a spaceship that crashed in Roswell or near Dulce. There was a spaceship that crashed. Those weren't spaceships. They were time machines.
Are you talking about the one near Aztec?
Yeah, that's the one.
The Aztec, New Mexico crash?
Yeah, the one that had the 5 creatures in it. With the blue suits and shit. Where one of them approached a guy in a Jeep. He was a whistleblower now. What the hell was his name? Can't think of it. It's near Dulce. But
Gabe Valdez?
That might be it. Yeah, I think that's it. But the thing is, I mean, I don't want to blow the lid off and get everybody all upset. But like I said, a lot of these weren't from another, space. But see, that's my whole point. The whole point is, when you get out past that 300 mark on the Earth there, past the radiation belt, time is different. Time and space isn't what we think. This is why I really question the fact that they ever been on the moon. They may have had equipment there, but I'm really not so sure about physically, because that radiation belt would burn through and it would destroy an astronaut in that ship. If they'd have to have it made, it had to be made out of nickel or lead, and there's no way in hell they were going to get that up in space. It'd be too heavy. We didn't have the technology back in '69 for that. I think there might have been maybe some UFO guys that brought people up there, but I don't think we did. I really don't. They'd have to. I don't know. I've seen so much evidence of it that I don't know. Kind of doubt it.
So, sorry.
I'm not a debunker, but I don't go along with everything either. There have to be some kind of science behind it.
You have to take everything with a grain of salt and look at it yourself through your own critical lens.
I'm not going to say that we haven't been there and we haven't done nothing and we're not doing nothing now. I'm just saying we didn't go the way that they said we did. We did not go up at the Apollo like that. That was staged. And that was whatever reason they decided to do that, probably because at the time we really didn't have our shit together to go yet. But I'm sure that if we wanted to catch a ride with somebody who can, we could have. We probably did.
I'd see. I think we did go to the moon, just not using the means that they put on camera. I think we
Yes,
actually
that's 100%.
we use some of this secret tech that they've been developing, and they yes, they had Stanley Kubrick film the moon landing because there's just way too many inconsistencies in the film of the said moon landing for it to be real. For one, who's already standing out there with the camera when Buzz comes off the damn or Neil comes off the damn the transport? Because that at that point, technically, Neil wasn't the first person on the planet, was he? First person on the moon, was he? No.
No,
Like
there's too much, there
there's
to be
there's
considered.
no the thrusters that would have been blowing, lowering them down to the surface safely. There's no scorch marks. There's no dust move. There's no stones move. Nothing. It's flat surface. That tells you that that right there alone should be a red flag for people. So
It's funny about people just want, sometimes they just go along and believe because they don't want to, they can't get their head around uh, like what we do. I mean, a lot of people just try to keep things simple in their heads, and that's okay. That's what they want to do. That's part of what the government knows. They try to disclose, like really what happened, really what's going on. They really couldn't say, oh, well, we used some reverse engineering from Roswell, and we have a craft, and we went up there to the moon with. They probably did that, but they, you know, they got to make it look good on TV because everything's about TV back in those days. You know, it still is. Uh, I think we found out that there's a lot more going on up there than meets the eye. I really think we have a base up there. We have a lot going on in space that people don't know about. I mean, all that stuff that Reagan was talking about. You know, if we knew, you know, if there was aliens that were going to come here and cause trouble, how it would pull us all together and all this other shit. And in the meantime, he's spending all kinds of money or trying to get money to put up Star Wars, and they shot it down. Says no, you can't have the money. But then they did all this Black Ops, and they put stuff up there anyway. Like they do with everything. The government just bullshits people to get money to do stuff.
So do you think the rods of God are a legit weapon?
The what?
The rods of God.
Oh, the rods of God? You mean from space?
Yeah.
Well, there's definitely some stuff going on up there. I know we got some laser capability up there that's phenomenal. And that tech didn't even come from here. That's been up since then. They could fucking light a cigarette. Somebody could be putting a cigarette in their mouth and they can light it. As far as nuclear weapons, that there I'm not so sure about. I really don't think that's, you know, they put some stuff up there that in case of a meteor that might come at us, they could blast it away. But I don't really think that launching a nuclear weapon is on the table. I really do believe that that kind of energy could really disrupt the time space, could rip the fabric of it. I think that's what the aliens were trying to tell our government, that if you fool around with these nuclear weapons, not only are you going to blow your own self to hell, you could actually destroy the fabric of time and space and make a damage in the universe. Something to think about. I mean, think about this, guys. If it could take 110 weapons to destroy the Earth so that we can't live on it, why do we need 4,000? Well, I'll tell you, the reason why we need 4,000 is because we got to bullshit the government to get the money to pay the industrial military complex to build something else. Not nuclear weapons. There ain't that many weapons. No way.
Well, the day before 9/11 happened, fucking Donald Rumsfeld talked about there was what $300 billion that went missing from the
trillion
dollars that went missing.
Yeah, trillion. Guess what part was hit? Where that fucking records were. Where the records to what the hell they spent the money on were in that side. They got fucking hit by a drone. That was a drone that hit that.
Wasn't that like piece of like the Department of Naval Intelligence or some shit like that?
I don't know exactly, but I know that's where they kept the records of where the money was, and I'm not surprised that it hit it. Yeah, he made that announcement, but they do it all the time. You know what it is? See, the government just pays uh, the military, the military complex. To say, okay, go ahead. Here's the money, and there's never any accountability. That's why they'll spend $800 on a fucking toilet seat, $100 on a nail, shit like that. So what they do is they go to Home Depot and get a $30 toilet seat, and the rest of the money goes to some shit they don't know about because they don't have any accountability. So anytime anybody's doing, if they're working on a part for a UFO over here, right? They need like fucking $50 million. They fucking say, oh, we need another 10 million. Oh, we need a gold dome. We got to build a gold dome. So we need the money for that. We need the $700 billion to buy Greenland, and we need another $170 billion to build a dome. No, they need that money so they can do some shit that we don't really know what's going on about. Like nuclear weapons. What does it cost to build a nuclear weapon? Like fucking $8 million for a small one? So, listen, $8 million can do a lot of shit with something else. And they could just make, like the Germans, back during WW2, we had a lot of fake stuff, like fake tanks, fake Jeeps, mannequins, and stuff like that. We fooled the Germans.
I remember that the inflatable Jeeps and shit like that. Yes, yeah. I've heard about that. That is wild.
So them motherfuckers would be doing shit like that now. What they do is, oh, we'll build a weapon. The fucking, we'll call it the Mohab, mother of all bombs or some shit. And it's a damn septic tank. You just spray paint it, It looks like a rocket, but it isn't. I would not put it past it because the government's good at deception. Making something look like it isn't. Like when they build a device to go around and mess with people, it looks like a UFO. That's a perfect cover, don't you think?
Young Wise got it correct. He said commission 200, build 10.
Yeah. They fucking... It's almost laughable, but it's sad in a way that people... I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't really think a whole lot of people buy into this shit no more. I think something happened to us during the pandemic, and everybody woke the fuck up because everybody's like questioning everything right now. And that's why we have chaos. They're going to have to do something or they're going to dissolve. We're going to end up fighting our government like Iranians are doing with theirs because they can't hide this shit.
Well, didn't the fucking Brazilian government just pack up and cut bait and just like, oh, we're done? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the Brazilian government, wasn't it?
I wouldn't be surprised. Well, the Canadian government, they've had disclosure. They're telling their people what's going on with them. And we don't know nothing. We don't hear shit from Canada because they just stay the hell away from us. They think we're crazy. But yet they disclose all their UFO stuff, and their people are good with it. They don't care. Australia, the same thing. I think they've had some kind of disclosure, too, from what I understand.
Now, another thing about this disclosure shit that kind of like rubs me the wrong way is the terminology that they're using for it. Like they use the term UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, unidentified anomalous phenomenon, and then they use the term non-human intelligences.
You know why they do that? They change acronyms? I'll tell you why they changed that.
Well, to me, it sounds like they're trying to prepare or encompass any type of thing that might fall under that category. So, like unknown anomalous activity or an unknown anomalous phenomenon, that could be portals. That could be all kinds of weird shit. Non-human intelligences. That could be demons. That could be aliens. That could be fucking mole people. You know what I mean? So, like
they were government. Fucking mole people.
But I think that's why they're using that term. They changed it to those terms because those two terms right there are so broad in what they could describe. You know what I mean?
Well, they change up too because then when they start documenting things, they can start talking about something else. Like if somebody says, "Oh, I saw a UFO," and they'll say, "Well, we don't know anything about UFOs." Now, if you say UAP, they, like you said, they can spread that out like an umbrella and cover a whole bunch of shit and be more indecisive, not so to the point. They can answer it with more bullshit than normal because they have more room to wiggle. They have more wiggle room on shit because, like you said, there's a whole bunch of stuff in that gamut. But you know what it is? They're going to disclose, and they are disclosing um, in their own way. And there's, it's kind of weird. You're going to see in not too long. You're going to see why they're doing what they're doing, because some of it's so fucking really insane that most people won't ever believe it. And I kind of think some of the shit they're doing is justifiable. But I think the biggest issue here is spirituality. It's really tied in here, big time. I'll give you an example. You know, you may or may not want to hear this. I know you don't like to talk about religion, but I am going to tell you what is written and what it says about Mother Mary. You know, she gave birth, what they call immaculate conception. The word angel and alien are the same in the Greek terminology. And when Mary was presented by an angel or alien, he said that you're going to give birth to Jesus Christ. And she never had sex to do that. That's an immaculate conception according to the book. But in reality, it's an alien implant. You know, a hybrid. Well, the whole thing of the matter is we all are the same thing. We all are hybrids of some sort because we were created by something. We were put together. We didn't just come out of the dirt. So the matter of fact is everybody wondering who that is. And if people lose their faith in the God that they've been taught since they were kids, it can be devastating. If it just wiped out religion altogether and they had to come to conclusions that who they are instead of what somebody told them they are, that might be too hard for them to deal with. And the alien connection is in there, I'm telling you. They had a lot to do with it. They had a lot to do with why we're here, how we became of who we are, and where we're going. And what's happening with us right now is an amazing thing to some of these aliens. They're sitting there watching it, and they're in awe of what's happening to us because we're transitioning. We're kind of like that butterfly. You know, we start out as a prickly friggin' caterpillar that birds can't touch because it's toxic. And then we go into this chrysalis stage where we turn into this beautiful butterfly, but we have to fight to go through this tiny hole to be able to fly and struggle and fight. Well, we're like that. We're going through this transition to become something beautiful. And a lot of times you got to shed a lot of shit to do that. And that's kind of what they're doing. They're observing us. They're not getting involved, but they're encouraging us in different ways. I hope that makes sense.
No, it does.
It's just what my thoughts are. And I've had some pretty heavy duty visions about stuff that go along with this. We're all going to come together on this. I have a lot of faith in humanity. I have a lot of faith in the people that got us here. And it ain't over till the family.
I think there's still a few more, let's say, jarring revelations that have to happen first before.
Oh yeah,
before we come together, like as a human species.
Well, you know something, man. Do you remember what it was like during 9/11? People were going to church holding hands, and everybody was helping each other and stuff. It seems like us human beings, when the shit hits the fan, we seem to pull together more. We hold on to each other by instinct, like we used to do back 200-300 years ago. A community would take care of itself. I think what you're going to find here in the near future is community is going to start taking care of itself pretty soon. Kind of like what's happening in Iran, is the people are tired of what's going on with their lives, tired of the government, and just want it back, and they're willing to fight for it. And they're all gathered together and they're holding their own and trying to make it happen. I think that all of us as humans on a global level, just like Ronald Reagan said, if we thought there was a threat coming from another world, we would pull our shit together and try to save ourselves. That we would not worry about what this guy's doing over there anymore. We try to help each other out. And I think that there's a good possibility that things could be staged to try to make things happen, like Bluebeam, Paperclip. All these things were a thought that, well, maybe if we just pretend there's an alien race kind of come here and kill us all, maybe we'll pull together. Maybe we can stage it. Maybe we can make a hologram or something in the sky and make it look like fucking mothership coming and shooting us all up. Maybe they could do something like that and try to scare the shit out of people to pull together, because they do. People do that. But then again, like you said, Revelation stuff, and we're in it. There's things that are going on that are definitely on point with Revelations.
Do you think that some people are doing stuff to push the Revelation narrative further? They're trying to make the stuff in Revelations come to fruition?
Well, we wrote it. Human beings wrote this, brother. Yeah. I think you're right. I think that we are making our own thing happen. I really do think that intention is everything in the universe. If you put that in, the universe will abide. So we're putting all this stuff in. That's why we're at where we're at, because we're doing this. I think if we put some other kind of energy in this, if something happened and we got freaked out and decided, oh, we better pull together, we're going to die, and we changed our attitudes and started helping each other, that energy frequency would change the whole situation. Like if Revelations was not about destruction and all this other, but there is parts that are about how to recover from all this, that the goodness and all that all these things have to happen, this purging, this birthing process, it has to come about. All this stuff has to come out into the air to be destroyed. For that veil to lift, it has to be into the light. It's really panning out that way. If you really sit back and watch it, everything is going according to the way it's supposed to happen. There's no such things as accidents in the universe. This is supposed to happen this way. If you try to change it, it'll course correct. I think with the time traveling thing, that's my experience with it. That can actually cause an effect like the Mandela effect. Like every time you try to change the course of time, it's going to create some kind of a overlap, some kind of a Mandela effect. It's an interesting time to be alive, to watch all this stuff come into fruition, because I really do think it's coming quickly now. I don't think it's going to be like years. I think we're here. And,
universe unfolds as it should. Well, humans trying to force God's hand never ends well. The universe unfolds as it should.
I think people are not really sure who God is. I think once they realize what Source is, they'll wake up.
Well,
it's not some old dude in the sky, man. That's
so I don't know if you're familiar with a gentleman named Jerry Wills.
No.
Jerry Wills is he's been touted as like the modern as like a real Indiana Jones. And he was told about a quote unquote Stargate in Peru. I forgot exactly where it was, but it was on the side of a lake, and it was like a wall fixture. And what you do, you walk up to it, and there was a place where you could kneel down and you put your forehead onto the stone. And then while you did this, you were to hum these specific tones. Now it seems like tones, frequencies. It plays a lot in all of this stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
So he was told to hum these certain tones, and it would activate the Stargate. But you had to think about where you wanted to go or what you wanted to see. So when he started doing this, he said, "Okay, I want to go see the creator." So he gets down, he starts doing the sounds, and his wife will attest to this, that his body just fizzed out, right? So I'm sure you've seen the movie Stargate.
Oh yeah.
He says it looks just like that, like he's traveling through what looks like stars flying past him really fast, really fast. And then he starts getting closer to this one spot, this one white spot, and he goes through, and it feels like he goes through what a membrane. And he said when he gets through this membrane, he opens his eyes, and he's just standing in this huge, white, immense space. And he starts looking around, and he's off in the distance. He sees like this black structure, so he starts walking towards it. And when he gets closer to it, it looks like a giant supercomputer. He said it's got lights and different kinds of nodes and tubes coming out of it and everything. And he said a voice came out of nowhere and said, "You're not supposed to be here. What are you doing here?" And he answered, I wanted to see the creator." And the voice proceeds to tell him that we are the creator. We created your universe in order to understand our place in our universe. Does that kind of make a little sense?
Yeah.
Like this is a giant experiment.
Sure. I think it goes even crazier than that. I really do believe that if you want to meet the creator, it's as very simple as looking in the mirror. I really do believe that we are. And that's what Jesus was saying when he was coming here. He didn't come here to be followed. He came here to wake people up and let them know who we are. And I think we are the creator. I really do believe that that's why it's so hard for us to grasp certain things, because we're in the program that we created. I think that all of this is something that we did. I think we have the ability to change it very simply by just changing our minds. And I think we have that kind of power. I think we're creating all this. I think we're creating this threat that we think it doesn't exist. We're creating it that. We can actually create our demise if we wanted to. Being that we're the creative energy, we sure have that control. I just think people are like really afraid to think that they are, because we've been lied to about God. And we don't want to think that we think it's grandiose, that can't be true. There's no evidence that it's not true. And I think that other concept was created by, like, we created a computer program. It could be AI. AI could be a reflection of source. It's a reflection of us. And it's a computer generated situation that we created. And we're the creator, dude. So I think people are just afraid of the truth. I think they just rather have the little trip. And the creator wants to have an experience with its creation. So here we are. They really could be that simple. We are that smart that we could do all this crazy shit, create all these things, and fool ourselves. Row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, merrily, merrily. Life is but a dream. So now it's time to wake up in the stream and realize who we are, and stop tripping over this little spot in time, because it doesn't really exist. It's something we're creating. We're creating time. It's not real. We make it real, but it's not. Our bodies are just like cars. They're going to get rusted in garbage and throw them in the junk heap. Our bodies are going to go into the ground, but the pilot's going to get out and walk around. Go maybe get into another car if you want to, or whatever else you want to do. Maybe you want to be a bird. You're the creator. You can do whatever you want to. You can simulate this. You could go to source, the AI, whatever, and create a universe if that's what you want to do. We can do anything. I know we can. I've seen people do some amazing stuff.
Well, we've been going for almost 3 hours, so I think we're gonna wrap up this one. We're gonna call this one the Whistleblower Part 1, and we're gonna bring you back on for Part 2. Want to do the same thing next Saturday, Part 2, and this time we gonna talk about some other shit.
We can talk about anything you want to. I will definitely.
I'd like to get more into the like your what you've done with like the hypnotic regression, the healing stuff like that.
The healing thing came from the Pleiadians I learned from. I learned how to do some healing stuff when I was sick, and others, my friends and such, and I've been working on that for a number of years. I know a whole lot of different modalities. Hypnosis is one of them. It works for a lot of different things, and I really want to help you guys, both of these, what's going on with you. I'm pretty sure we can work it out.
We'll talk about that in when we hop out when we end the stream. So I want to say thank you everybody for joining us on the live stream. I want to say thank you, Kit, for joining us on the show. It's greatly appreciated. We're definitely gonna have you back again. Guys, on the way out, don't forget to hit that like button, share it, and what else can I see here? Coming live to you from the frozen tundra of New York. This has been an Impromptu Truth, and we will see you guys next Saturday for Part 2 with Kit, the Whistleblower. All right, so enjoy your week, guys. We will see you soon. All right, so Kit, if you just hold on, I'm gonna do our little outro thing, and then we'll talk on the back end.
Okay.
All right, take it easy, guys.
Peace out.
Oh no, shit! I gotta go through my whole rigmarole here. Where is my outro? There it is. There's the outro, guys.